Hi, my name's Nick Richards, and I'm groovy. No, really, folks, you are here on Quick Hits, Greenspoon Martyrs need to know place for information in the cannabis space. I am Nick Richards. I'm your host today. Today with me, I've got Robert Johnson. Robert, I think I got a laugh out of you there. Robert Johnson, a great attorney and friend and colleague of ours in Chicago. And Robert, wait, I got wants me to check on a box here. Okay. Is a social equity expert, which is what we're talking about today, social equity. Before I get into Robert, I just want to give a shout out to my social equity company that we've been helping here in Colorado, Duba. Hey, Duba. Hey, Duba. Hey, Duba. Okay, Robert, tell me a little bit about what you do, man.
Oh, Nick, you are groovy, and I didn't know that you had a little five-part harmony as well. So if we're going to be, I'm not going to sing, but I want to give a shout out to my social equity client and partner in crime, which is Grow Minimum Labs, Social Equity Cannabis Accelerator in Chicago. I'm a Chicagoan through and through. See, you got those skills. But I am, as you mentioned, a lawyer in the Chicago office, and I focus primarily on social equity in the cannabis space. It's something that I'm passionate about. It is something that I think is long overdue. I think it is the wave of the future as it relates to cannabis, and something that should be ingrained in the industry. As everyone who is probably listening to this has some inclination that the cannabis industry has had a disproportionate impact on communities of color. The war on drugs has had an outsized, devastating effect on communities of color, and it has really taken its toll. And at least here in Illinois, the spirit of the law was really intended to try to ameliorate that impact by providing opportunities to create wealth for Black and Brown individuals who themselves and their families have been impacted by the war on drugs. So it has had mixed results, unfortunately, which I'm sure we can get into. But the spirit of the legislation was really to try to create wealth and opportunity for entrepreneurs in a booming industry, a booming emerging industry that has tremendous upside and the potential to really change the trajectory of individual lives, and could potentially, if shepherded it the right way, could be a catalyst for change in the communities that it has ravaged over the years.
So important. The Greenspoon Martyr firm is just so excited to be a partner in these programs and to be helping social equity candidates get licensing. And to be bringing the partners to the table that social equity folks need to succeed in a really tough industry. It's not an easy ticket. I gotta say, it's Robert. You and I have talked a little bit about this. We're giving them a ticket to, get into a really tough industry. They could fail, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. And we hope to help make it easier. But I don't think we can, it's not going to get simple.
You know what, Nick, you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's really sort of the elephant in the room. One is that this is not an easy industry. It's, obviously it's illegal in many respects, extremely regulated. The legal aspect of it is extremely regulated. And then it's extremely capital intensive, and not to mention highly competitive. So that's a cocktail for a deadly cocktail for any entrepreneur. But then when you overlay it in the context of social equity, which you take historically a group of people who, let's just take African Americans in particular, of the 3.7 million Black businesses that exist in the United States, 96% of them are solopreneurs, meaning that it's just one person that is really may or may not be incorporated. It's kind of a hustle, kind of a fly by night type of organization. That's for legit businesses. So if you talk about the gray or Black market, then I would probably say 100% of those are probably solopreneurs. So you take that demographic or that audience, and then you ask them to come into this highly regulated, illegal, capital intensive market, put together teams of experts, many of whom they've never worked with before, compete in a lottery system with an application that's based upon points, and basically ask them to raise capital, which in the normal context of Black business, Black businesses don't receive angel or friends or family or seed funding. So now you want that to take place in a very truncated period, and with essentially strangers that have come together to compete in, as you articulated, extremely tough competitive industry without the underpinning of education, which is where I think Illinois failed. There was not a whole lot, or if any, education on how to even enter into the industry. It was really just a free-for-all. And I hope as other states come online that they contemplate that, because there's a huge learning curve, not just from the industry standpoint. You got to learn the industry. That's one area of learning. But then how to engage in raising capital, private equity, forming teams, all of those things that are inherent in you being able to participate in this industry.
Yeah. And all the time are very, very strict requirements for licensing, any of one of which, if you don't comply with, you could lose your license and lose your business and your entire investment and everything else along the road, right? So
exactly.
That is the part that we are hoping that we can help with, right? We can help with the educational part, and together with the groups that we're working with in the social equity space can bring education to the folks that need it. And we're really, really excited about that program. Robert, you and I have been working with individual cannabis company programs in New York and Chicago and Colorado and California. And we haven't really officially announced this yet, but we're looking to create a unified national program, right? And exactly. I think I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But I am really, really, really excited to be able to put the muscle of Greenspoon MARTA behind a program like that, together with some other of the big players in the space, with people like you who know what you're doing, and see if we can really make some change. Tell me, you think we got a chance?
I think we got a great shot. I mean, Greenspoon is a phenomenal firm. A lot of law firms kind of play in cannabis. Greenspoon is a player in the cannabis space. And it's the type of player that, particularly in the social equity space, we need to be able to put social equity applicants and entrepreneurs on a level playing field with some of the folks that they're competing with. Lawyers are considered trusted advisors. And one of the things that is great about Greenspoon is that we don't have like one or two. It's not just you. It's not the Nick and Robert show. We have a whole army of cannabis lawyers in pretty much any area of cannabis or business that you could imagine. So it gives us the muscle, not just intellectually, but actually the foot soldiers to be able to marshal to help address any issue that a client may have. And that's one of the tremendous advantages. More importantly, Greenspoon really has demonstrated the will and the desire to really jump into this social equity space and to really put his money where his mouth is and put his resources where they need to be in order to help address this really a crisis, of what I would call it, in the cannabis space, where you don't have, the cannabis industry is still 99.9% white male. So if we're going to change that, it's going to require all hands on deck to be able to provide opportunities for folks to create wealth for their families, to transform communities, to create viable businesses. So the social equity program that you and I have been talking about, Nick, is really designed to do all of those things, to give folks the resources that they need to start businesses, to create a marketplace where they can get access to capital, which is the lifeblood of any entrepreneur, but especially a social equity entrepreneur in the cannabis space, where they could get trusted, not only legal advice, but business advice. And I think most importantly, or equally as important, they can get access to relationships. That's the other sort of untold side of the cannabis space, is that you got to have relationships. You got to be able to get product. You got to be able to get connected with folks that can help you grow, save, and expand your business. So that's one of the areas where I think Greenspoon has a tremendous network, because it just doesn't play in the cannabis space, but it's a cannabis player. And it knows who the players are and has deep, long-lasting relationships with those players that we can bring to the social equity community to create that social equity ecosystem, to be able to create a viable environment for Black, brown, and women-owned businesses in the cannabis space, whether it be plant touching or ancillary, to be able to thrive.
And you know, in the cannabis space, that single operator is really at a disadvantage, right? There's really a advantage in being big in the cannabis space when you're dealing with all of these requirements, and you know, onerous taxes and everything else. And so, getting people together into the space, right? It's really huge. Yeah. And you know, getting those folks that aren't connected and don't have those resources to, you know, I think over you know, years and generations, you become distrusting of those resources, right? And so opening up those relationships and building those trust relationships and being a true partner in the industry is really exciting, really kind of what Robert and I would really like to do for you know, as many people as we can help. And you know, so Robert, what I'm kind of seeing is, you know, licenses, you know, professional knowledge and help, and you know, is that what it's going to take to kind of push the ball, or what do you think? Is there? I think with that probably should come some capital, because we're going to be able to help companies be the right companies that investors want to invest in, and then they just got to do their thing, or help me out on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, again, Nick, it's all of that. It is our wise counsel as practitioners. It's our connections. It is our desire to really become that deal firm where social equity entrepreneurs can get access to capital. I mean, we can be that marketplace where folks can get together and come together to get the resources that they need to grow and expand their business. You know, obviously from a regulatory standpoint, you know, we got that on lock in terms of, we have some tremendous lawyers that know cannabis law backwards and forwards. And then I think there's also some advocacy. You know, we, as you know, and many know, we're a founding member of the Cannabis Roundtable. So in terms of our ability to promote the agenda of our clients, to help them have their voices heard around the issues that are important to them. That is something that we also are uniquely positioned to be able to do. So I think it's a combination of all of that. And then when it gets down to the blocking and tackling of everyday representation, you know, we offer discounted fees for social equity applicants. We partner with a lot of them, like the Black Cannabis Conference, to help promote folks in the promote awareness and opportunity in the industry. We have a presence in the community to educate people about cannabis law. So I think, unlike most law firms, we're doing a plethora of things that are really helping to just, again, create a vibrant, robust social equity ecosystem. And there's a lot more plans on the horizon, like what you talked about, national partnerships with cannabis, social equity cannabis organizations like DUBA, like Growmentum, and some organizations out in California. We want to be everywhere that our clients are that are looking to advance social equity.
Yeah, Robert, the work you're doing is so important. And you know, more than just that work, I know you have a lot of insight into what's going on in government as well. And, you know, in the cannabis space, we have some different models that have come out. You know, here in Colorado, we didn't have a cannabis social equity license in our initial licensing rounds. So we came back and created the delivery license for social equity applicants. Other states, like where you are, Chicago, had social equity front and center from the start, as you described. And I think we're seeing that in New York as well. Would you agree with that? I mean, do you think that's the right model that we're now seeing with this early round of licensing, to allow the social equity candidates to come forward in a certain space? Is that working, do you think, generally?
Well, I mean, I think it's the right intention. I had some conversations with some practitioners in New York yesterday, as a matter of fact, around this very issue. And I think what we have to be mindful of is, as lawyers, we talk about the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Sometimes the letter of the law, while well intentioned, does not capture the spirit of the law, and sometimes the letter of the law, poorly drafted, misses out on the spirit of the law. And I think the spirit of social equity within the cannabis space is around opportunity, and opportunity as it relates to a particular demographic. So whether it be New York, California, Denver, how do we make sure that we're creating opportunity? And the legislation and the practices of the industry should represent that. So for example, in New York, the definition of social equity is a little gray. It doesn't necessarily directly target, in my view, the people that it was intended that the spirit of the law was intended to benefit. Similarly, in Illinois, our definition of social equity technically could include, a very wealthy white guy that got popped with a marijuana offense a few years ago. Yeah, that's the letter of the law, but that's not necessarily the spirit of the law. So how do we, as advocates of social equity and people who want to see improvements in the industry, our role is to advocate for the entire industry to the betterment of the industry, particularly, in my view, as it relates to social equity, because the other aspects of the industry will take care of itself. But if we don't protect social equity and be clear in what we mean by that, we can miss a tremendous opportunity to really create an industry that is still at its nascent stages that could have tremendous positive impact, as I said earlier, and really be transformative to communities and ameliorate some of the disproportionate impact that its history has wrought on these communities.
We're going to make it happen, Robert. With people like you, I don't think we could fail. I really appreciate your time today, my friend. We are Greenspoon Martyr. This is Quick Hits. I'm Nick Richards. Robert Johnson's got the inside information for us. We'll be coming again on this topic when we have a little bit more information on this national program. I invite people to contact us if they're interested. We want to hear from you guys. We want to help you out. We want to work with you. We have stuff we can turn your way and educational materials and everything else. So give us a ring, Greenspoon Martyr. Robert, what are you doing tonight?
I'm on the Duba.
Thanks so much for joining me, Robert. Really appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
All right, man. Peace out.
All right.